Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, the time a couple of my employees were extremely mad at me for firing a disrespectful garbage waitress just because she has kids. Update 2. Entitled MIL can't believe she will have to pay for her own housing. Surprise visits are a hard no from me. Apparently that makes me entitled. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. The time a couple of my employees were extremely mad at me for firing a disrespectful garbage waitress just because she has kids. This happened a couple years ago, but I randomly was thinking about it and thought you guys might get a kick out of the ridiculousness. I had this employee who was a woman in her late 30s or early 40s and was your stereotypical momby. I'm a good deal younger than her, and at the time, I was like 26 or 27. Right away, it became clear that she had an issue answering to a woman much younger than her. She talked back a lot and made it clear she felt like she knew more than me and shouldn't have to listen to me when she disagreed. She would frequently bring up the fact I had no kids and she had 4 to disregard my management abilities, as if it was in any way relevant. Here's just a couple anecdotes of what I regularly dealt with from her. We had a problem with employees being on their phones excessively, her being one of the worst offenders. I did an employee meeting where I reminded everyone they weren't allowed to be on their phones at all, and we would be a lot more strict about that moving forward. She interrupted my speech to say, "Well, the problem is your generation can't handle being off their phones for more than 2 minutes." I pointed out she was on her phone all the time too, and her reply was, "It's different. When I'm on my phone, I'm looking at things for my kids, not trying to hook up on Tinder or play Candy Crush." I told her the reason people were on their phones didn't matter unless it was an actual emergency, and she rolled her eyes. She tried to argue with me about the fact I would only schedule her during the day and not nights. Nights are more lucrative because customers buy more alcoholic drinks, thus higher tips. I reminded her that when she took the job, she was signing up specifically for day shifts, and most of my waitresses are college students and have class during the day, so there's not any flexibility with their scheduling requirements. She proceeded to yell at me that her desires should trump theirs because she's a mom and she needs more money than them, and slammed my office door shut behind her when I wouldn't cave. The final straw was that I heard from one of the waitresses, who I am very close to, about how she would talk about how she didn't respect me as a manager and often brought up my lack of desire for kids. She would also apparently say things like, "I'm not going to take orders from someone who hasn't even matured past the 'I don't want kids' phase." Between the constant blatant disrespect and the fact she was barely a passable waitress anyway, I decided to fire her. 2 waitresses confronted me, telling me it was wrong of me to fire her and begged me to give her her job back. They had no defense for her shittiness, only she has 4 kids. If she has 4 kids dependent on her, it's on her that she repeatedly treated her boss like total shit. It's not like I fired her over one incident. There were countless instances of horrid behavior and blatant disregard for authority that she openly and shamelessly stated was rooted in ageism and my maternal status. So yeah, it's a shame that her kids had to suffer for their mom's behavior, but that's her responsibility, and I have no regrets for throwing out the trash. I had a male employee tell me that I couldn't discipline him because he had 3 kids and a wife to support. I looked him square in the eye and said, "And that is my problem because?" I then said, "Yours is a situation of your own making, both with your personal choices and the mess you find yourself in with me. Your problem with me is the one I can do something about, but your personal problem is something only you can deal with." Sounds legit. I feel like there are 2 possible outcomes. It'll be a wake-up call for her to get her shit together as she hits rock bottom, or she'll continuously blame others for her own predicaments and never improve. My guess would be the latter. It's probably the latter. Update 2. Entitled MIL can't believe she will have to pay for her own housing. We moved her into the apartment a week ago. It's been so nice to have our peace and quiet back. We deep cleaned the room and bathroom she used. So gross. So everything is great for us. But of course she's already trying to sabotage the situation. As for the moving process, she acted like she was weak and dying the whole time. We did it all for her, including finding her a really nice used recliner chair. She paid for it, but didn't come to the store with us because she was so weak. She's got a great setup, but she still hasn't slept at all and doesn't like it. Now she doesn't even like the recliner for unspecified reasons, claiming her old one was better. It was so dirty when she moved in with us that we wouldn't allow it to come inside, and we eventually tossed it. The new one is categorically better. Here's the worst part. It's a no-smoking building. It's in big bold text in the lease. She knows this. She hasn't smoked inside in a long time anyway, so we figured she's used to it, and I wasn't going to let her turn down the apartment because of it. We found a cheap table and set up a smoking area outside, away from the building, and where she doesn't have to do any steps up or down. One neighbor already talked to her about smoke coming in his window and moved the table further out. So I already know someone in the building isn't cool with smoke. We went one morning to bring her some things and she was outside smoking, but as soon as she saw us, she said, "Guys, I smoked inside." I guess she knew we'd be able to tell from the smell. She played dumb about the rule and we reiterated it very clearly and reiterated in no uncertain terms that if she gets kicked out, she will not move back in with us. She claims some guy told her that everyone smokes inside and they don't care. Husband went over again a few days later, and she was clearly about to light up inside, but claimed she was just getting ready to go outside. Then yesterday, we talked to her about it again, and she just kept making excuses. What about when it snows and rains? It's spring and very dry here. Why is that relevant? Well, in the morning I need a cigarette and my coffee, and I have to do my pills. I guess it's too hard to go outside somewhere in that sequence of events? My husband and I both lost our cool. If you get you kicked out, you're going to be homeless. You won't just be smoking in the rain and snow, you will be living in it. It's like she supposedly hears us but either doesn't believe us, or literally is so screwed up in her brain that she thinks her need to smoke a cigarette inside is actually more important than ensuring she has a roof over her head. She is deliberately smoking inside to get herself evicted, so she can move back in with you. I'm calling a caseworker Monday so that they can help her transition to the Medicare nursing home that will be her next stop. I'm sure they'll let her smoke there. If you haven't already, you should probably make it clear to her that she will not be moving back in with you. If she gets evicted, she's on her own. We've said it very clearly multiple times. I don't think she believes it. Let her get in trouble. It's her life, not yours. She's lived X amount of years on this earth and still hasn't figured it out. That's on her, not you. Yes, 71 years and really never figured it out. Not how to take care of her health or be a successful person in general. She's always lived with and mooched off of family. When she gets kicked out, be like, oh well. She is gonna do everything in her power to move back in with y'all. She obviously doesn't believe you'll follow through and is trying to sabotage the situation to move back in. If I were you, I would make your spare room unlivable. Cram it full of stuff, make it into some sort of workroom, etc., etc. Definitely don't have a bed or dressers in there. Make her see the next time she's over that she can't easily move back in, and you mean business. Surprise visits are a hard no from me. Apparently that makes me entitled. My mother has always had a hard time with boundaries. Growing up, she was fond of telling me it was her room because it was her house and she could come and go as she pleased and snoop through my space at will. Same with my car or my phone or anything else. No matter if I was paying for it with my money or not, she had rights to everything. After I got married and moved across the country, she followed a year later to be close in case I needed her. She settled in a town about an hour away, and I saw her a few times a month. She was generally a good grandmother, very involved, and nobody could say she didn't love my daughter a ton. She was given a key to my house for various reasons and didn't abuse it too much. But she had a hard time recognizing that I was an adult and made the rules for my own child, not her. Mild things like wanting to hand-feed my 7-year-old and telling me I should allow things that I did not, arguing with me in front of her about my rules, that kind of stuff. After I separated from my ex-husband and moved into my own house with my daughter, she was again given a key for emergencies, and this is when she started to cross some lines. She'd go shopping and drop things off at my house, still an hour away from her own house, and just leave bags of things in various places. She's always been a bit of a compulsive shopper and a hoarder, if I'm being honest, but these things were usually useful. Cases of paper towels, bottles of laundry detergent, piles of conditioner, that kind of thing. But she'd just show up unannounced and leave things in my house, usually in my unfinished basement floor. The basement flooded every time it rained for a half hour, and these things frequently got wet or ruined. I asked her to stop multiple times because I was tired of throwing away soaked rolls of toilet paper, but she continued doing it the whole time I lived there. Frustrating. Then I moved back across the country. She again came with me, actually living in my house for a few months until she could find her own. This was a disaster. Her old space-invading behavior from my childhood came roaring back. She'd barge in my bedroom and bathroom without knocking. She'd argue with me about my parenting and openly disparage me to my child when I wasn't around. She'd buy 15 bottles of dishwashing liquid because they were on sale and get angry when I told her I didn't need them. I asked her to escalate her move out for the sake of our relationship. She found her own place but kept the key to my house. Her random drop-ins increased to multiple times a week. I'd come home to whatever random haul she bought that day just sitting on my table, or she'd need to borrow a carving knife and just let herself in while I was at work to grab it. I'd be in the shower and get out to find her in my kitchen, having not gotten an answer when she knocked, so just letting herself in with her key. I asked her to stop several times. I don't like unannounced visitors, and I hate knowing someone was in my house while I was not there. She continued unabated. She let herself in at one point and went through my daughter's things, which prompted my daughter to ask me if she could confront her grandmother and ask her not to do that again. My mother went ballistic and said she'd give the key back, but never did. She continued to show up randomly, but now saying she knew she should have called first and just forgot. My daughter and I moved again last summer. I was adamant my mother not be given a key to this house or the security code. She has continued to show up randomly. My son opened the door a few times, mostly because he isn't as good at hiding as my daughter and I are. If he's not home, we don't answer. She showed up unannounced last week with stuff for Valentine's Day. I work from home, so I was here. I was on a conference call, so did not go to the door. My son happened to be home and opened it for her, so she came in and chattered for 10 minutes and then left. This was the last straw for me. I'm over these surprise visits, especially when I'm working and my bosses can hear my dogs going nuts because someone new is here. So I text her and tell her for the 100th time to stop. I don't care what the occasion is or what she just had to drop off. Stop showing up at my house unannounced. This is a boundary she needs to respect. And she loses her mind. I'm a controlling, entitled brat who can't tell her what to do. She was just trying to do something nice for Valentine's Day. She hopes I have a child so hateful and mean one day. I can bet my sweet ass she won't do anything else for me, ever. She's having surgery next week and needed to talk about it with me. She has a very busy schedule that day and lots of places to go, so that's why she couldn't call or text me first. She planned on just leaving the candy on the front porch, but my son opened the door, so it's his fault. And on and on and on. I finally told her I wouldn't be reading or responding any further. She responded with good. The silence these last 10+ days has been golden, but I feel like the teenager in a horror movie who mistakenly thinks the axe murder is gone, only for them to pop out of the closet later. Next time, grab your purse and daughter and head out to run errands. McDonald's counts as an errand, as does the library or any place else you choose to go. If your hubby opens the door for her, he can entertain her. Doorbell camera helps a lot. My narcissist mother is the same way. I informed her nicely of boundaries. She didn't listen and earned a pair of scissors for Christmas. She asked me why I got her scissors and was informed that the umbilical cord has been cut, and if she shows up to my house again unannounced, I will have her formally trespassed. She now calls if she is going to drop by and is limited to 1 call per day. Move without telling her the next time you move. Gaslight her into saying you did tell her, and always say you're at a different address. She wants control over you and will stop at nothing to get it. Stay away from her. That's rough. I hope she comes to her senses and recognizes your boundaries. I hope it happens soon and doesn't escalate. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.